Alright lads, and welcome to another video. Today we are covering all the changes in Legion for the Unholy Death Knight spec. I'm going to be making a few of these videos, probably for like every spec in the game, so stay tuned for that. Now, Unholy, oh hang on, first of all, this is how I'm going to do the video. I'm going to go through all the changes first, and then at the end I'm going to offer some kind of like discussion, criticism and opinion. So Unholy, at a first glance, Unholy is experiencing a very phenomenal and catastrophic change. Like, upon reading like all the class information, I think Unholy is it's up there with one of the most changed specs in a game, definitely. And Death Knight as a whole is getting changed quite significantly. I'd be as bold to say as like a Gladiator or Mythic Raiden DK. When 7.0 drops, everyone is just going to be a complete scrub. That's how much it's changed. So, like Death Knight in general, the rune system has been completely overhauled. Now there is no such thing as a rune type anymore. You don't get frost runes and holy runes or blood runes. Pretty much you have 6 runes, so it's basically going to be like having 6 death runes over time for every single spec. And yeah, and there's also a talent which gives you an extra rune. So there's no more rune types. Now in Legion, a lot of the talents have been changed. They haven't added talents necessarily. They haven't added like a talent for the 110 tree. Maybe they will do in the future. But what I'm seeing is a massive change to literally all the talents. Like everything has been completely revamped. So let's go through some of the changes. In the first tier, you have this ability called Little Stinker. Basically, your goal is going to do extra AoE damage. Shadow Infusion. Basically, the Dark Transformation cooldown is reduced every time you use Death Coil. And then this is one of the interesting ones. All will serve. Basically, you're going to get an extra ghoul, an extra pet, which is pretty cool. Your next tier is all going to be about the Festering Strike new debuff. Basically, let's talk about this first. Actually, I think like Frost Fever and Blood Plague have been completely removed, and now we have this disease called Velucent Plague, which is a disease that basically does the same. It lasts for 21 seconds, and it can erupt. Like it has a 30% chance to erupt in damage, basically to do extra damage like every time it deals damage. So it's going to be a bit like Necrotic Plague, except Necrotic Plague has been removed, I think. And basically, so you have that taken away, and then you also have Festering Strike. Festering Strike applies a debuff called Festering Wound, and every time you pop a Scourge Strike, it will explode one of these Festering Wounds, and then it will do extra shadow damage. So the rotation is going to be all about keeping up this debuff so that your Scourge Strikes can do more damage. And this talent tree is just all about how it changes that mechanic. In the next tier, we've got this. It's all the same apart from this new talent called Longevity, whatever, and it's basically going to give you an extra rune, which is pretty cool. We have this thing called March of the Damned, which is a bit. I guess it's like a replacement for Death's Advance. I mean, Death's Advance was irritating in ways because it was an extra keybind, and it's basically got the same mechanic that you can't be slow below 100% movement speed, and you have like 20% CC reduction, which is really nice. I think this is definitely going to be like the strongest PvP talent. Definitely, especially as DK has serious problems with maneuverability, and you can combine this with Asphyxiate now, which is really good. Spellbreaker is just going to be an increased duration to your AMS, and it's going to absorb more damage. DG is, I think it's the same. Yeah, it's just completely the same. In this tree, you've got Purgatory and Death Pact in like the same tree. They're completely unchanged. And you've got Improved Icebound Fortitude, which is basically going to be a cooldown reduction and an extra damage reduction effect. In the next tree, interestingly, we got Golfin's Grasp and Remorseless Winter. They're pretty much unchanged in the same tree, but you've got Asphyxiate in this tree as well. So you can combine this with like maneuverability talents, which I think is really cool. Defile and BOS are pretty much all the same. But there's this extra talent called Tortured Spirit. Summon a slow-moving but powerful spirit to assist you in combat for 20 seconds. Each time the spirit strikes, it goes more powerful. So another pet. So literally, as Unholy, you can have about 3 pets, which is going to be mental. Death Coil has had a bit of a change. Basically, it gives your ghoul energy. So every time you Death Coil, it's going to regenerate the resource for your ghoul, so increases damage. Sudden Doom, that's pretty much unchanged. We've got Dark Transformation here. It's on a cooldown instead now. It's not built up by Shadow Infusion. So Shadow Infusion is a different thing now, and it lasts for 20 seconds. Did it last for 20 seconds last time? Or was it 30 seconds? I can't remember. But yeah, it's pretty much the same, except it has a 1-minute cooldown now, and you can reduce that cooldown with one of the talents I was on about before. Interestingly, Death and Decay. When you're in the Death and Decay aura, your Scare Strikes spread. So you do damage to one guy and it will spread to like 3 people, which is pretty cool. And it seems that Mastery has received a buff. You know, Unholy was all about Necrosis and the multi-strike, but multi-strike's getting removed, thank God. So everything's just going to be about flat out Mastery, Dreadblade, increasing your shadow damage, which is just going to make it, well, better, like it was before they messed it up. And the changes don't stop there, because there is this new PvP talent system which is going to be implemented in Legion. Anyway, let's get on to it. There's a few things which are basically they're not unique to Unholy. They're like pretty much for like every other spec or every melee spec. But anyway, you got Gladiator's Medallion in as a PvP talent now. You got this thing called Adaptation, which is gonna basically means that when long CC with over 5 seconds has a chance to be removed. You've got Relentless, which is going to reduce crowd control duration on you, which is going to stack quite nicely. With that Death's Advanced Replacement talent, I mean, it's going to stack to like 45%, which is going to be pretty mental. Maybe it won't stack, I don't know. There's this thing called Train of Thought, basically you have a damage increase as long as you're not being attacked, but I don't think it's ever going to work, because you always have a dot on you or something. There's this haste increase. There's a critical chance increase on targets above 80% health, which is going to benefit Marksman Hunter a lot, but not Unholy. Anyway, this is where the Unholy unique things come in. We've got this thing called Cadaverse Palette, which is basically a critical magical damage on you is going to turn into a dot rather than actually do the critical damage, like the hit or the actual full damage. It's a bit like how Stagger functions now for a Brewmaster Monk. So, you know, with Brewmaster Monk you take damage, and then that damage is turned into a dot rather than like in one hit. You got Dark Simulacrum as a talent choice now. You got AMZ as a talent choice. You got this thing called Necrotic. And AMZ the duration's been increased slightly. Well, 2 seconds. I still don't think that's a great thing. Now, Necrotic Aura, all enemies within 10 yards take 5% increased magical damage. And then you've also got this thing called Decomposing Aura, which is basically anyone within, within 8 yards get an extra dot. And it's like 2% maximum health every 2 seconds. So I think Unholy is all going to be about staying in melee range to rot people down, very much. You've got this thing called increases... this is Heartstop Aura. It's quite interesting. Basically, if a mage pops Ice Block, and then you pop Heartstop Aura, it's going to increase the cooldown of Ice Block by 30%, which is interesting. Is it all enemies? It's all enemies as well, so you can. That's going to be mental. Like if a healer uses a defensive cooldown or something, you can just increase its cooldown. Anyway, whenever enemies are healed, basically, or is it affected by Festering Wound? So whenever anyone's healed while they have Festering Wound up, they're going to take up extra shadow damage, so it's going to be an extra dot. I mean, I've lost count how many dots are going to be in this game. Anyway, you got Pandemic, which is whenever you pop Outbreak, the dot duration of everyone near the target you're using it on is going to be refreshed. You've also got an extra dot. In PvP, Unholy DK get this dot called Wandering Plague. It only lasts for 8 seconds, it does quite a lot of damage. And when those 8 seconds have elapsed, it's going to jump to the closest target. And yeah, I mean, and it's also going to apply your Virulent Plague. So there's so many different methods to keep your dots up. It's going to be pretty mental. I mean, Unholy is going to be the new Affliction. There is another talent here that when you're I'm going to have to nail the names of these things. When the Virulent Plague is dispelled or kind of ends its duration, like a slime spawn is going to be spawned. like near the target, and it's going to slow everyone in 8 yards by 50% for 3 seconds, and it's going to do nature damage continuously, and it's going to last for 15 seconds. So, I mean, how many pets is that now? Is that like 4 pets Unholy has? I mean, that is how Unholy should have been from the start. And there's a talent which is going to give you even more pets. There's this thing called the Death Stone. The Death Stone will resurrect zombies to attack enemies within a certain amount of yards every 5 seconds, lasting 3 minutes. So 3 minute, like, some kind of stone on the ground which is going to, like, resurrect corpses nearby and just... I don't know how... I've lost count of how many pets Unholy's going to have, but this is how Unholy should have been from the start. And then, obviously, at the end we have Necrotic Strike. Now, after all those changes, I'm thinking... I'm not even that hyped about Necrotic Strike anymore. Like, I can see Unholy working without Necrotic Strike. I'm actually predicting that Necrotic Strike won't become a viable option, and all this other stuff might become more viable. I don't know how Unholy Necrotic Strike is going to play out at all. Anyway, lads, that's pretty much all the changes. As far as my opinion goes, I'm like pretty ecstatic. This is basically what I've wanted Unholy to be like for a very long time. This is what Unholy was similarly to what it was in Wrath of the Lich King when it actually worked. The thing that made Unholy so fun in MoP was the combination of a burst playstyle and a rot playstyle. It was all about dot control and burst control and rune control, and that kind of playstyle was what I found fun. It was like technical and it's kind of technical and easy at the same time. That kind of like it was a combination of a warrior and the complication of a warlock dot control and the easiness of a warrior. That kind of thing. That's what made Unholy Death Knight so fun. And then they decided to remove all the burst pressure and leave it as dot control, which is, and you know, when WoD was announced, I was really positive about it. But the dot that they gave us was completely impossible to retain in a PvP scenario, so it became completely unviable. Necrotic Plague was just stupid. You know, it worked in PvE because you could be in melee range for most of the time, and it actually gave you a massive advantage in PvE in some cases, but like in PvP it's just completely useless. But now Blizzard have actually acknowledged this, that in PvP people move around. I mean, how long? I mean, this game's been out for 11 years, and it took them 11 years to like learn that. Anyway, I'm seriously thinking that nobody on the developer team actually plays in a serious arena. But anyway, they've made it. I think they fixed the maneuverability issue by asphyxiating a different talent tree. So I'm positive about the maneuverability of Death Knight. I'm very positive about our pressure capability of being able to do pressure, because a lot of our pressure is going to be able to still do pressure like without being in melee range. So Unholy it's going back to what it was like. It's a combination of melee and range capability, and you know, you can always do pressure. You know, Unholy's like an unstoppable choking machine. It's like being slowly choked to death. But anyway, lads, this video is getting pretty long. There's a lot to talk about. Stay tuned. I mean, next I'm going to do a similar video for Frost. It'll probably be shorter, you know, because Frost is a much smaller spec. Anyway, my name is the Meta Goblin, and to my next video, ciao.